Josh, how much did you watch at SummerSlam? Because I know you were bouncing back and forth, South Carolina. I imagine you didn't watch a ton of it.
I wasn't able to watch any of it.
Did you see any of the highlights?
I know everything that happened. So let's get into it because the GOAT came back and my one also back. Kevin Owens came back. He is the new number one contender. It was supposed to be straight up Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor. Nick Aldis, who put on a hell of a match against Gunther, comes out and says, oh, no, this isn't a straight up singles match anymore. First, he adds Gunther to the mix. And then he says, actually, this is a fatal four-way. And then we get the return of Kevin Owens.
Yeah, it would have been a lot bigger of a pop if they didn't ruin it like 2 days before. There's some rat in WWE that's given all this news. How did they figure out that Kevin Owens was backstage at SummerSlam? Like how? What rat in that organization got that thing to Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer? I really want to know. That was bullshit.
It really was. But, most of the matches were good. Because I was able to go back and watch highlights and stuff. The most surprising thing was that all but one title changed hands on night 2. By the way, that ladder match was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I thought the Intercontinental title ladder match of WrestleMania, if we're going to compare, I thought was better. I thought the woman got a little clunky at the end, but I thought it was good. I was not surprised by any of the results of night 2. I got every match. To me, the biggest surprise of the entire SummerSlam was actually the girl who you said last week had not defended her title in 100 days actually retained the championship. And imagine you could make a case outside of the main event Sunday was the best match of the whole weekend between Liv Morgan and Io Sky. They absolutely killed it.
That's the frustrating part with me about Liv Morgan is I don't love her promos. Like they don't work for me personally.
And I know our buddy C-Boss in the past has compared her to, what has he said, a tinier version of Alexa Bliss?
Yes, he hates Liv Morgan.
Which I completely disagree with. I think Liv, in-ring wise, is a lot more talented.
That's where I was going. Promo-wise, I don't think she's great at that. Her promos, at least for me,
she's gotten better as a heel. I think she's a better heel promo than a babyface promo.
Yeah. But in general, I think her promos leave a lot to be desired. I don't feel like when she's cutting a promo, I don't feel that like, oh my God, I'm so invested. Like, I just sit there and I'm like, okay.
No, I agree. But you know what? And I said this going into the show. I felt like SummerSlam was going to be the WrestleMania this year for the second straight year, and it was. And the Raw after SummerSlam felt like a Raw to WrestleMania because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, CM Punk has challengers for his WWE Championship. Liv Morgan's got people for her Women's World Championship. Like, what I said it at the time, was WrestleMania just ruined by TKO and they had no plans because this looked like a completely different product.
And Chelsea Green actually won a legit championship.
And in my mind, she is not the interim WWE Women's Champion. She is the WWE Women's Champion.
And I'm all right with that. Because it looks like Rhea's going to be out for a while based on what she just posted on social media.
Which again, I honest to God, I believe this in my heart. When they announced that there was going to be an interim championship, I said, that's it. Chelsea Green is winning this ladder match because they don't want to tag Chelsea Green as the champion. They want to give her an interim belt so that the fans feel good, so that she can lose it when Rhea is ready to return, so that she can never have a real title reign. That's why, because they have never, ever in WWE history had an interim championship until all of a sudden this ladder match. The champion has always vacated the belt. You don't think they could have made it? I'm using this as an example. You don't think when Seth Rollins got hurt 6 months ago, when Braun Breaker turned on him, they could have crowned an interim World Heavyweight Champion? It's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, speaking of Braun Breaker, what has happened to him?
He just got his aura back. There's your answer.
Yes, but like it feels like ever since the Seth Rollins feud, he's played a backstage character to everything with Austin Theory and Maxine Dupree. I hate it. So I hope this is their way of getting him back into the main picture scene. Maybe not necessarily in the world title scene yet, but getting him back up into, the top, if you get what I mean there. But in terms of like Oba, I thought they didn't need to make it a Hell in a Cell. I think a street fight probably would have been better because it didn't feel like Hell in a Cell.
Well, there was a rumor going around, and I don't know how true this is. The rumor going around was Brock Lesnar pitched for it to be Hell in a Cell because he wanted it to be a cage, but he did not want to take a bump against the cage. I don't know how true that is, but he obviously didn't take a bump against the cage, which didn't make any sense because I do think he wanted to take a bump on the freaking hardwood, and Oba didn't want to do it because he didn't want to freaking kill him.
Yeah.
But,
we saw what Drew McIntyre and CM Punk did in Hell in a Cell. So.
No, I thought it was disappointing. I agree. I wanted them to break the cell. I didn't care about them using the cell per se. I wanted the spot where Oba speared Brock through the cell door. That's what I want.
My favorite moment overall of SummerSlam, though, and we'll get into the Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns stuff in a minute, but my overall favorite moment of SummerSlam, Chad Gable winning the Intercontinental Championship.
And the only weird thing about the entire SummerSlam where I thought it was strange was immediately following that match, they have an ad for like root beer or something. This mascot jumps on the apron. I thought he was going to turn on Chad Gable. Like I thought it was Drew McIntyre or somebody. No, it's just a beer sponsorship.
Yeah, and honestly, it felt like that match didn't get enough time. Like the ending just kind of happened. I'm like, what? Like it didn't feel like the proper ending. Well, don't get me wrong. Let me say it like this.
Go ahead.
Chad Gable tapping out Penta, I was cool with. I'm not saying that was the wrong.
No, I agree. What I think went wrong is Penta tapped out immediately once he sat down on the ankle lock. That kind of felt like, oh, it's over. Like they should have sold him sitting down on the ankle just 2 seconds longer. I think it would have felt different.
Yeah, but overall, I just felt like that match didn't quite get enough time. It felt like when Penta tapped out, it felt like that's when those two were really finding their momentum and their mojo. And I'm like, okay, I want to see that. Wait, it's over? I don't get it. And you had the human monies on the pole match, which you knew was going to be goofy and silly.
I am fully out on Danhausen. I don't care what you say. I don't care what Jalen says. It's a joke. Danhausen's a joke. And he is super over. They have the ice cream cart. There's so many people dressed as Danhausen. How over is that going to be when we get to Halloween here in a couple months? But
I know.
I mean, they have taken this gimmick, and I said it from the start. The worst thing they did was, I thought it was smart at the start when they did the curse and Dominic Mysterio lost his Intercontinental Championship. But you have to make it where sometimes he curses someone and it doesn't work. When Danhausen's out here cursing people and they always lose, or there's always fireworks shooting up in the sky, it doesn't mean as much anymore. That's the mistake they made with him.
By the way, let me say this. I'm glad you brought up Dominic Mysterio. He won the Intercontinental Championship. He had all this great momentum. You know, you go back a couple WrestleManias, that match between him and Ray was awesome. I loved it. And
not only that, then a couple years ago, he had the big pop, the Fatal 4-Way, when he won the IC title in the match with Breakker and Finn, and he pins Finn. And it's like, I think they did not want to pull the trigger on him breaking up with Liv Morgan and him becoming a babyface, so they didn't know what to do. Because the crowd was turning towards babyface Dom, and they just tried to keep booking him like a heel. And it's to the point where Dom, the getaway heat was gone, and that's where he was at his best, when he could be that chicken shit heel. But he's evolved as a character, and the booking has not evolved with him.
He's doing great down in AAA, and yet it's not translating on the main roster. I don't get it. Like, that was my bigger issue with the Danhausen stuff. Not Danhausen. It's the booking of Dom that has me more frustrated than anything. Because I
can't argue with that.
Yeah. Do I agree with you about the points you're making in terms of Danhausen? Yes, they have overexposed him, I think. I think it would be better if they were using him less so that it had more of an impact. Because now when he's on, I'm just, not that I was ever a big Danhausen fan anyway, because it's always been silly and, funny. And I do like it occasionally. Like, it's a nice little break when you.
I guess my argument is WWE has that guy. It's our truth.
Oh, I agree with you. Which I hope they get the tag titles off of R-Truth and Damian Priest. I want Damian Priest back in the world title scene.
I agree with you, but now, by the way, all of a sudden, SmackDown went from having literally nobody but Gunther for Cody to challenge for the championship to Randy Orton, CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Like, what the hell happened over the course of 2 days?
I know. And I like that we're going back into the Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes feud, and it's
without the title. And by the way, what I am worried about, that finish at SummerSlam, it does open up the door. If you want to run back Cody Punk in Saudi next year, you can do that now because Cody wasn't pinned clean.
Yep. Again, I think I said this on the air last week. WWE especially has these 4 seasons where it's like you have season 1 where it's the build up to WrestleMania, like the Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, all that type of stuff. Then you have WrestleMania season. Then you have like the season after WrestleMania, post WrestleMania season. Then you have SummerSlam. And now we're in that season where it's like, what is that big thing we all have to look forward to? Like,
well, what's interesting is we talked about this a little bit last week. Outside of the Sunday night's main event in Atlanta on Labor Day weekend, there is not a PLE on the docket until October 10th, Money in the Bank, which is interesting because it's not WWE style to spread out PLEs. That's more of an AEW thing to spread out PLEs 6, 7, 8 weeks apart.
Yeah. Granted, All In is in like 25 days in AEW just because of the timing of when Redemption happened. But by the way, Grand Slam Mexico was fantastic last night. MJF came back.
The only thing I saw was Adam Copeland Edge's entrance, which was cool. I don't know anything else that happened. I didn't see anything else that happened on the show.
Okay. But we're recapping SummerSlam here. Obviously,
you're the one that always makes up the topic. Don't blame me. Of course I'm kidding.
No, I'm not blaming you. But overall, I thought SummerSlam was a good show. Were there a couple matches that I was like, maybe that could have been on Raw or that could have been on SmackDown? Yeah. But Seth and Roman, I first of all, Seth's entrance was, gee, good Lord. That's one of Seth's best assets. If you want to say it like that.
I will say, because there was a point in that, and going into it, I had said there's no way Seth's going to beat Roman, right? When that ref took that bump, and Seth gave Roman that stomp, and he goes up to the top rope to deliver that avalanche stomp, I'm thinking, oh my God, are they actually going to do it? That match was so well done for a sec, and that's when matches are great.
Exactly.
When 99% of the time you think a result's going to happen, but there's that second where you go, oh my God, Seth's going to beat Roman. And then bam, the spear out of nowhere.
Yes.
That match was the best WWE match this year. Roman and Punk was great. This just is another level. The only match that I can see topping this match from WWE standpoint, if you want to call it WWE, is the El Grande Americano versus the original at AAA.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. Which I wouldn't call that WWE. I would put that in AAA. That's just my take on that.
No, and it's totally valid, which is why this will be WWE's match of the year. I don't think there will be a close second.
No. But what I was getting at was one of Seth's best assets is the way he plays these mind games. Go back to the Royal Rumble a couple years ago when they had a match. He comes out not just in Shield gear, but he comes out in using the Shield entrance, and you just saw the look on Roman's face. WrestleMania 40, he did the same thing. And then with this entrance, it starts out Shield and then it just fades away and goes into Seth's entrance. It just, not just his entrances, but the way he plays these mind games is just so damn good. And of course, he's great in the ring. Don't get me wrong. He's obviously one of the best. But again, just the way he thinks about the way he's so cerebral and plays these mind games is just amazing. I love it.
Well, also, because I want to talk about the champion for a minute. Because when Roman Reigns won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 42, the two biggest complaints we heard about Roman Reigns becoming champion were he's never going to be around and he's going to win all of his matches by interference. And since winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 42, he has stuck to his word that he was going to be around all summer. Now, granted, were there 1 or 2 weeks where he wasn't there? Yeah, but also there's 1 or 2 weeks where guys like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk are not there. It's sort of the new normal in WWE. And number 2, Roman Reigns has won every single match with no bloodline interference whatsoever. No entrance, no coming down to the ring with him, no nothing. The bloodline almost has their own separate story going on, while Roman has his own story going on. And they're doing a good job mixing the real life complaints with what's actually going on television, which again was always my point, because I said the reason why Roman was going to beat Seth is because they have to get back to Roman Reigns and LA Knight, because LA Knight still believes if it wasn't for Solo and Jimmy at Crown Jewel 2023, he would be the WWE champion. And here we are.
Yeah. It does feel like the Jacob is still going now. based on how we ended Raw and the interactions and stuff. I did like that there was no turn. There was no deception, anything like that in that 6-man tag team match. I hope Solo Sikoa actually keeps this character because I enjoy it. And Royce Keys getting killed, little surprising there, but they clearly want to make Jacob Fatu a monster.
Yeah, I wonder if we're gonna get. I think at some point Solo is gonna rejoin the Bloodline. How they do it, I don't know. Whether he's gonna do it for War Games, and your War Games team is Roman, the Usos, Jacob Fatu, and Solo against 5 wrestlers, it kind of feels like the move to me. Like Royce Keys, LA Knight. I don't think you need to put 7 there, but 3 other guys as well. And that will probably maybe you put a Braun Breaker in there. Maybe there's different scenarios you could go with there. Maybe you put Oba in there just for protection. You sort of tease the Oba Roman match down the line. I think there's a world you can do that.
Like that's part of the reason why I don't love that Survivor Series is always War Games. It feels like sometimes they have to force it.
No, I agree. I was never a fan of the traditional Survivor Series elimination matches. So, like, out of the Big Four, Survivor Series to me has never felt like a Big Four in my lifetime. I have always felt that the Money in the Bank PLE is the other Big Four because I love the idea of someone at any time cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah. Since Survivor Series switched to War Games, my favorite was when Judgment Day faced Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and Jey Uso.
I agree. The year before, I would argue, though, was really good because you had the Sami story of which side he was going to be on.
Yes, but personally, I was more invested the following year with the Judgment Day and everybody.
I agree. No, I will say last year was the first year it felt forced.
Yeah, agreed.
And this year, I don't know. We have 3 months, so maybe it will, maybe it won't. I mean, you have a faction in the Bloodline, so you have to start. The Women's is the one that always feels forced because they start and stop the tag division there.
Yeah. The tag team championships weren't even defended at SummerSlam. Actually, none of them were defended, which is ridiculous. Correct. That shows you the state of tag team wrestling in WWE.